just want a way out. Wish that I could blame you. Wish that I could hate you. But I'd be lying to myself.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to East Coast DNA. We've got Andre Pettipas here live at the ECMA charity basketball game. How you doing, Andre?
Well, we're about 20 seconds from our first loss, but that doesn't matter. This is a kickoff party. We're going to have a fantastic weekend, bunch of showcases, seeing some friends. It's all in good fun and raise some money for charity.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. See you around this weekend. Cheers.
Look back. When you feel like fucking giving up, you take a second, you look yourself in the mirror, and you know you're not a fucking quitter. You got your band behind you always, you got people supporting you, you feel like you're gonna give up, all you need is a little pick me up. So we're gonna sing that together, we'll say, you feel like you've had enough, you can use a little pick me up. You feel like you've had enough.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to East Coast DNA. We're here at the Brown Hound in downtown Halifax for East Coast Music Awards 35th anniversary. Over the weekend, we'll be interviewing a selection of artists participating in the partner showcase held at this venue. It's being hosted by Steve MacIntyre, friend of the podcast, former guest. We'll be catching up with him over the weekend, and our first interview is with George Woodhouse. Welcome back to East Coast DNA. We're here at the East Coast Music Awards Festival, and we're sitting with George Woodhouse, returning guest. Welcome, George.
It's great to be back, Darcy.
So right off the bat, the last time we talked, you were George Woodhouse and the Public Service, and you've had a little bit of rebranding since that time, and now the full band is going by the Public Service. And so when people are looking for you online, is there still a George Woodhouse and then there's a Public Service, or is it just the Public Service as a full project?
Well, we did shorten our name. We released our first album as George Woodhouse in the Public Service, and it'll always be on the internet that way because it's locked in. But on the social media and all that, we're the Public Service now, which has been interesting at a strike time with the core Public Service. But we write protest songs, so we're all right.
And by coincidence, we're actually in the Public Service building here today as well.
We are.
It's a nice little thematic thing. I appreciate you accommodating me. We had a little tight schedule for day one of the ECMAs, but it's a nice, cozy environment here. Get some quiet time before all the chaos of the activities tonight with the award show and red carpet and everything. So going forward now with the Public Service, is there a new album in the works, or are you releasing singles from that last album but under Public Service?
I foresee recording in our future.
That's the answer I wanted. I do have a follow-up question for that too. One thing that from being a fan of yours and following your music, you had a song that was written during lockdowns and everything that was quite popular online, but the album didn't include that track. So another thing, when I'm talking to other people, like general public or other artists, and I reference you, a lot of people would definitely be aware of your singles, but what a lot of people are not aware of unless they've seen you perform live, and you allocated to having a little bit of history of it in our previous interview, but you actually rap when you're on stage in your live performances, and you're playing folk and rock kind of blended, but then incorporating some hip hop elements that a lot of people don't see until they've seen you live. I'm curious, will the public service in new recordings incorporate some of this talent?
The hip hop. Yeah, it's so fun to think about genre these days. Some people say genre is dead. I think genre is just more hybridized than ever, which I love. So we have folk, funk, hip hop, indie rock and roll, traditional folk, rootsy stuff. And sometimes, yeah, like our songs take on a hip hop feel, where I grew up listening to a lot of hip hop myself, and that's just the way it comes out sometimes. And it's a joy to do it. It hasn't made it onto any of our recorded stuff, but it might on the next project.
It does seem like when I'm at a live performance that the crowd's really into it. I mean, they're obviously fans of yours in the first place if they're singing along to some of the songs, but the reason I mentioned that song, besides having hip-hop in it, is also because that's not a release song. So obviously some of the people in the crowd are hearing it for the first time and they're vibing to it. So it seems like that's a unique element that your band offers out there. I can't really think of another band. There's lots of hip-hop influence in a lot of different genres. To your point, everything's kind of blended nowadays. But I can't think of another one that I would put in your category that also has those elements in it. So it definitely gives you something unique. Aside from that, is there any new sounds or anything that you're exploring with the new album? Because I know you have a lot of different members in the public service. So the hip-hop influence, I'm aware, would be from you as the lyricist there. But with the other members of the band, maybe there's some other influences that they're wanting to try out. You got a kind of a rebranding going on and a whole new album. What can we look forward to?
The name's shortened, and that's really the only change, because our band is the same. We've got Joss and Jan and Justin and Andrew. It's the only one that doesn't start with a J. And the reason we shortened our name is to create more space for their song ideas to come forward. George Woodhouse in the public service was largely songs I had written and brought to the band, and now we just find ourselves, we're 4 years in playing together, and music will emerge from the ether, when we get together and with our chemistry. So it's something I don't take for granted, and I just wanted the name to reflect the collaboration that we're going to have moving forward.
And I believe, do you all work in public service as well? That's where the name really comes from? Or is that not so much the case in 2023?
No, it's just me and our bass player, Justin. We are day job public servants, but by night we all serve the public with our music. Awesome.
I love it. So what other big events are you looking to for the ECMA weekend? Maybe as I go along capturing some of my on-fly content, I might be able to include some of that for some of our fans online.
Yeah. I've heard that there's going to be an excellent showcase on Friday night, so tomorrow night, 8 p.m. at the Marriott Ballroom. There's Yvette Lorraine, who's performing with a bunch of special guests from the Halifax area and beyond. I really want to get to that one. If anybody can go. But it's going to be amazing. I mean, I'm sad to be missing most of it. we're playing tonight, or just me tonight, but with a few other great artists at the Brown Hound. But the whole conference is going to be a blast. I wish I had more time. We're demolishing my shed in my backyard this weekend, so I might not get to as many events as I'd like to. Yeah.
That's one of the fortunate things that I have. One of my privileges is I have the ability to be a little bit more flexible at this point in my life, but I say it all the time in interviews that I can relate with a lot of the artists that I'm interviewing. It's not at the same level, but packing up gear, running to the city, taking off to different venues, it's very complicated, and it does take a lot of personal time. It's wonderful to have the event here in Halifax. It's a stomping ground for me my whole life as well, so it's a familiar territory, but it's widespread this year. We got Argyle Streets blocked off for a bunch of free events, and I'll be hanging out the Brown Hound with you guys this weekend, and I know Andre Pettipas is some guests lined up over at Level Down. We may pop in there for a little bit as well. And looking forward to all of the celebrations, but especially the live performances, like you say. So I'm hoping that as these days go on, we can wrap things up earlier in the day so we can catch as many live shows as possible. So what should people do if they want to follow what's going on with the public service going forward? Maybe keep an eye out on album development or new single coming out?
We would love to keep in touch with folks. So we're on Instagram at the Public Service Band. But most of all, like if folks are looking for really good festivals this summer, we feel really lucky to be playing two of my absolute favorites. One is Full Circle in Newport, down toward the valley. And then the other one is Standfest that we're going to be playing at. We'll be opening up for the Town Heroes at Granville Green, which is a legendary concert series in Port Hawkesbury. And the Short Club in August as well with the Town Heroes and Daniel James McFadgen. And we're putting on our own big show in downtown Dartmouth for our neighbors, essentially. And that's on May 26th.
Awesome. It sounds like you just made up a list of like the best events that you could do in this area. I feel like you name dropped, but it's your actual schedule. Congratulations. Some of those were news to me. That must be very exciting for you guys, because I honestly would say that those events are some of the bigger events in the East Coast. So congratulations. I wish you guys the best of luck with those. For music videos, the song that I mentioned that was not on the album had a video to go with it. So is there any new digital content that people should be looking for outside of a new album?
We want to get into doing some live recordings and sharing songs with folks. In the meantime, our live show is really what we're pouring our energy into. But if anyone can just take the time to follow us once, we promise you a lifetime of enjoyable, joyful content.
And you guys always do have, a lot of it is you. On Instagram with your stories and posts, I do find that there's a lighthearted touch, a little bit of humor in some of it, and lots of music news from the band. So it's definitely, the Instagram account is one that we follow through the podcast, and it is very informative to keep up to date. You do it in a very fun way. So it doesn't feel like a chore to research the band. It's just being delivered in bits and pieces. So I will acknowledge that you guys have a very good Instagram presence. I know the podcast has a lot of Facebook followers, but probably Instagrams are big pull there too as well. For anyone watching this, you're probably on our YouTube channel now. I don't want to beg anyone to hit subscribe, but I will tell you right now, if you hit subscribe, you're not going to get a bunch of emails. It's just going to notify you when you're in the app looking for new content. It'll notify you of any new releases. So if you want to support people like George and myself, give us a follow. The more reach that we have, the more reach that the artists have with exposure for their new projects, and that is a win-win situation for everyone on this end of the fence. So, George, is there anything you'd like to say to the fans out there, or any of the other artists? A lot of our viewers right now are fellow musicians.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have any final words you'd like to send out to the internet.
Happy ECMAs, everyone. Thank you for doing what you're doing. There was probably lots of chances to quit along the way, but you didn't, and here we are. We're enjoying each other's music, and we get to connect with good friends like Darcy. You are so generous with what you're offering artists and music lovers in the East Coast of Canada, and we don't take it lightly, buddy, so I would like to buy you a coffee.
I appreciate that very much. We'll wrap this up so I can get myself a free coffee. And just before we go, like I said, full circle and stand fast, especially for myself with my age. That's one that's gone back a long time. So like that sounds like a big, huge deal. The one that you have coming up soon, May 26th, where can people get tickets to that show?
GeorgeWoodhouse.com. That is still the website that we use, and while you're there, sign up for the mailing list, because that's where I pour my writing in kind of longer form, more thoughtful musings. I share that with a community of folks. So if you would like to sign up for that mailing list for public service announcements, we'll give you all the very best musical government news.
I love the puns and double meanings. So I definitely recommend everybody go out there and subscribe right away.
Double meanings.
Thanks again for your time, George, and look forward to catching your performance later.
ECMAs.
Thanks. Welcome back to East Coast DNA. We're back at the Brown Hound for the partner showcase with Steve MacIntyre, and our next guest is Joe H. Henry. Welcome, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
So, is there another Joe Henry? That's my first question.
Oh, you bet there is.
Yeah.
He
So
just happens to be a brother-in-law to a very famous lady, and a great producer, great songwriter and stuff. So I had to put the H in there.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got this understanding. I won't do his stuff and he won't do mine.
Perfect, yeah. Actually, the last time that we did a festival, one of the artists that we were interviewing has a doppelganger name out there, so we had a little fun with that. But it's not uncommon. That does seem to happen to a lot of people.
Well, especially with a name like Joe Henry. Geez.
So another thing with the Joe Henry name, I've definitely heard a lot about you. I know Steve's been very generous with the words as far as talking about you too, so lots of praise coming that way. So for our viewers, we've not had you on before, and I don't think your singles have made it into any of our playlists yet. So you might be brand new for some of our viewers.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your music and who Joe H. Henry is?
All right. Well, I would say the music that I'm currently writing that's being released right now, my last two singles, and what's going to be coming out, I'm actually just going into the studio to finish it up next week, is, I would say, the lyrical content that you would expect from folk. So a little bit more lyrically driven, but sonically it is more early R&B and gritty soul.
I was actually going to ask if there was a little bit of some blues mixed in there with a little bit of folk, and there's a lot of the bands that are playing here at the Partner Showcase are all kind of fall into a broader category under folk, but each one of you has your own little nuances that are different. Mm-hmm. So for this weekend here at ECMAs, you're taking part in the showcase here at the Brown Hound.
Yes, sir.
But looking forward into the rest of 2023, what should people be looking for if they want to catch a show or hear some new tunes? What kind of things can we look forward to?
Well, I right now have 2 releases out. Keep the Fire Burning. I think you can catch that still on CBC and then also everywhere you get your music. And recently I just released Time. That also went to CBC. And you can get that everywhere you get your music. We did a music video for Keep the Fire Burning. So that's available on YouTube if you check that out. And for the rest of the year, it's apparently I'm going to need to clone myself because I'm going to be a bit everywhere. I've got releases coming out probably once every 4 to 6 weeks for the foreseeable future. And then I'm going to be at Stanfest this year. I'll also have the EP release, which I'm super excited about, at the Carlton, June 17th, I believe it is, 16th or 17th. But if you follow my website, joehhenry.com, or get me on my Facebook or Instagram, you follow me through there, I'll be posting all of that. And the tickets are on sale for the Carlton gig right now, and that'll be with a full band. Stanfest will be with a full band. I got word that tickets are selling pretty quick for the Carlton, so if people are wanting to get them, they should get them pretty quick. Stanfest, I'm pretty sure everybody's SOL. There's a couple other big festivals that I just can't name yet, but follow me on social media and I'll be all around. So yeah, I've got a big year coming out of releases and co-writing and all sorts of stuff.
It sounds like it's going to be a really exciting year for you. And like I said, I've definitely heard some buzz through the grapevine. Your name's getting out there a little bit, so it sounds like it's a perfect time to be putting out new material. And congratulations on the bookings. Like I mentioned to you just before we got on, that our first interview is also going to be at Stanfest, George Woodhouse, or at the public service, I guess, probably, his band. So now I'm going to have to keep a tally as I go through the weekend and see how many of the people I interview are performing at Stanfest this year.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's pretty exciting. Sounds like
is.
it's going to be a great time.
Oh, for certain.
And for the new releases, you have a lot of stuff coming out. So,
Yes.
I mean, everybody's going to end up following you on social media so they can keep an eye on that. Are you looking at like doing digital releases for singles as you go along, or is there music videos going along with those?
There are going to be some music videos for everything. We're just kind of trying to make sense of it all. As I truly, the other night when I was so graciously invited to play in Cape Breton for Leona Berkey's Shine Blue event for Autism
that was
Nova
an awesome
Scotia.
event, yeah.
That marked exactly a year, because that's what the receipt said on the guitar I bought that I got back into music. So
Oh, wow.
it's been a year, and it has been a wild year. So we're just trying to figure it out. But there's going to be, a ton of releases, some music videos, some live stuff. Lots of giveaways, a lot of, as much collaboration as I can get, because this beautiful place is the only reason I am where I am, and people like Steve MacIntyre and Leona Berkey and everybody that's just so kind here. I want to get a chance to do as much as I can with all of them. So I'm going to find excuses to create releases with them.
Yeah, they're both friends of the podcast and former guests, so I definitely would echo those sentiments. You had kind of alluded to it a little bit there in the conversation, and I did pick up a little bit of conversation as we were preparing, and you were interacting with some of the other members of the partner stage here. Mm-hmm. So you're saying a year since you got back into music, and as I had mentioned, there was already a little bit of buzz around your name anyway. So what's the root of that? You had a former music career, took some time off, and you're just dipping your toes back into it. So what was involved with the earlier part? Were you really young at the time, or
I left my music career in 2016.
Okay.
I was in Montreal, doing great with a great group of guys there. We were doing some straight up roots rockabilly, and
awesome.
And I was doing a lot of solo stuff then as well, which was a lot more country driven.
Yep.
But also mixed with some old kind of feels of Delta blues, ragtimey kind of stuff. A lot of Louisiana in there. You
Yeah.
know, just that general kind of feel. So yeah, my father had passed, and I thought I had to go back and get back to my roots for a bit and see my family I hadn't seen in a long time.
Sure, yeah.
So then I started having a family of my own
Yeah.
and thought, I can't be on the road as I was on the road all the time. You know, I was busy and but then I found out selling farm equipment, I'm away just as much anyway.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to be miserable and going broke, I might as well be happy and going broke.
Yeah, I had alluded to it in some other episodes myself that I formerly had some small music-related businesses, and I did at one point get away from that because I felt like it was taking time away from my family, and I focused more on my corporate career.
No.
And then that ended up resulting in travel for my corporate career, and I was
Exactly.
away. It wasn't even that it was just as much. It was that I didn't come home for like a week or two sometimes.
Yep.
Like so, I can echo that on my end. It's cool to be able to kind of relate the context there.
When you come home different from something like that
Yeah.
than you do coming home from something like this, when your life is getting to be about music and creation and art, and you have to be away from it for some time.
Yeah.
Really, when you come home, you're replenished.
Yeah.
You're not dragged out.
Exactly. So that was my next question, actually. With those experiences in the time away, did that, it obviously gave you the option to, but did it end up giving you inspiration for, maybe more so on the lyric side, for new content that you have coming out?
100%.
Yeah.
Also sonically, too.
Yeah?
Really, it took me some time to get away because I was pretty straight on to, roots rockabilly, jump blues,
Yeah.
western swing. I didn't go really far from that 50s, 60s feel of, I guess, what you would call Americana. And now that I've done those things, I've had a lot of different experiences. I've been on the road, all of that stuff. I kind of realized all along that for me, it is, I want to write music that not only resonates with myself, but resonates with each of the band members that I get to share it with on the stage. So I like the breath in it. I like that those open little pockets for everybody, and then
Yeah.
when we can do that, and when we're living in that song, the audience who we're there for gets to live with us in that moment and take something home that evening. So that's it. Really changed my mindset. So I was definitely ready to get back into music.
Yeah, it gives you a more optimistic outlook on it. Instead, I can understand when you get really in depth into something. Even myself with the podcast, with the number of interviews that I would do at an event like this, sometimes you get burnt out pretty quick, and maybe your interest wanes slightly. So I could definitely see how that would happen too. But I'm really excited to hear the new material. When's the first new material we're going to hear? Do you have a date yet for anything, or it's?
We're gonna be doing June 16th, right before the EP release.
Perfect.
At the Carlton.
All right,
So
we'll keep an eye
June
out for that.
16th, things are gonna come out, and we might be lining up a date in the Valley,
Okay.
where we're living, for that. Still working out the details, but yeah, it's gonna become available on the 16th, and then we're going to launch it all on the 17th, and then it is starting a foray into all sorts of little lands in this pocket of the Maritimes. We're
Well,
going to take
that's
it on the
awesome.
road.
So, with the band, are these people that you had played with years ago as well, or you have a newly formed band for the new material?
Yeah, no, I've never played out here before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
That's a good
I'm brand new. I'm
Awesome.
a new hire to Nova Scotia. So.
Awesome. Where's your origins then from your earlier material?
Oh, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a long list of places that I've called home for a very small amount of time.
Oh, okay. So that's why I'm hearing the name, but I'm like, but where do I know him from? It's
Yeah.
because you're mobile artist.
Yeah,
You got a
but
little bit of
now,
spread,
now
yeah.
I'm definitely. I live in the valley. I live up on North Mountain, and that's where we're gonna stay.
Yep.
But yeah, I've got the great pleasure to have Dan Baird as the bass player. That is just an absolute pocket rocket, man. Just a fantastic guy, fantastic player, and is available all the time. You know, even though he shouldn't be, he's the type of guy that should be in 50 bands and like tracking every day for somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know, by the grace of God, somehow he's the bass player. So we're going to be playing shows together. With the drummer, it's a little tougher. I've got a few guys I'm working with that are all great players. My good friend Cameron Palmer, who's over in the valley with me there, and Jordy Comstock, who's on the recordings that have been released. We get to share some dates too, and new to the group is Tom Bona. I'm going to be playing some dates with him, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. And now it's just a guitar player, so I can stop having to do it
Oh, awesome.
because I'm a singer.
Gives you a little bit more freedom on stage to
Yeah.
focus on the singing.
Yeah.
Then. So you mentioned the Valley and the different band members. Recently, I've noticed, I don't know if it's just I've been noticing it or if it really is something that's shifted recently, but I'm seeing a lot of artists coming out of that area of the province over the last, I'm going to give a short time frame, like the last 2 to 3 months. It seems every couple days I hear of a new name, and everyone's super talented.
Very.
I know that Music Nova Scotia is holding their Music Week down in Yarmouth in November.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's related, if anybody's like, oh, we need to dust off our guitars and get presentation ready, or if it's just the teeming with talent down there.
I think what it is a culmination of the past 3 years of everybody just being so starved.
Yeah.
You know, like a child for its mother's affection.
Yep.
You know? So I think that because the fans are seeking out new material and wanting to go out more, people are starting to realize that, you know, this isn't the world that it was before, where it had to be catchy, it had to be poppy, and also the substance that is coming back is amazing. So a lot more singer-songwriters are coming out of the woodworks because there's a lot of acts that are making it to the top of the charts and getting signed by major labels that are just flat-out singer-songwriters. Playing that undescribable large umbrella of Americana, Canadiana. You know, is it blues? Is it country? Is it soul? Is it, you know?
We've had issues. We've never wanted to pigeon anyone with a label or a genre on the podcast, but through natural organic conversation, like that always ends up where we want to. But I don't think we've yet had a guest that we were able to say, well, no, there's specifically this genre.
Yeah.
Country over the last few years, it for some people it almost seems like a dirty word sometimes, but I keep hearing Americana pop back up. So I think that's kind of replaced. I had this conversation with another artist the other night, not in a recording, so nobody's heard it. But it was basically the same sentiment as the term country has been replaced with Americana in today's pop culture. Yeah. But I am noticing another person that will be performing here this weekend, Cameron Nickerson, also has that. He does a good job of toggling between the alternative rock kind of sound and going right into like hardcore good old boy country.
For certain. He's got a great sound. Great sound.
So there's obviously some of that coming out of that side of the province.
Oh, for certain.
In the past, I myself was aware of some of the independent acts that were coming out of there, but it does seem like 2023 is the year for that region.
Oh, for certain.
The timing couldn't be better, like I said, with Music Week in November. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on all you guys down there because
Come on down.
I'll be traveling down, but I might not be able to hold off until November. I might have to travel down there and take some summer
Come
vacation.
up on the
or
mountain.
something.
Come up on the mountain. We'll talk a little bit and pick and grin. And
Absolutely. It sounds like a good time. I've had a couple offers from talking that way, so it may happen just yet. The summer's just around the corner.
Oh, for certain.
So I do know that we got a few different people switching off on the stage here, so I'm going to go check out the entertainment and take off for the red carpet and award show. So we'll wrap up our time here now, Joe, but I invite you to come back on the podcast in the future so that we can talk about your new material and these unannounced dates that you're really eager to share with us. So I'm looking forward to it. And everyone that's watching this, go ahead, follow them on social media and be the first to know what's coming next.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks
man.
again.
It's been a pleasure.
The main star. There's no fancy mansions you ain't got no fast car. The supporting cast keeps you afloat.